I walked into the boardroom, my heels clicking softly against the polished floor, glass walls, sunlight pouring in, city skyline behind them. Routine, right? Just a performance review. That's what I told myself. Good morning, I said, sliding into the chair across from him. He didn't instead even glance up from the tablet. Sit, he said finally, his voice calm, cold, calculated. I waited. Smile plastered, notes ready. I prepared the quarterly summary, plus the new projections. He cut me off with a laugh, not warm, not friendly, a dry, sharp laugh. You've prepared a lot, haven't set you. His eyes scanned me like a blade, and yet, he leaned back, smirk curling. You've low value to this company. It was like someone had yanked the air from my lungs. Low value. Me? 10 words. That was all it took. 10 words that erased years. Excuse me? My voice trembled. You heard me, he said. Low value. His gaze lingered, almost enjoying the shock flickering across my face. I blinked. HR lead, sitting stiffly in the corner, avoided eye contact completely, silent, like they always did when things got messy. I don't understand, I stammered, clutching my notebook. You've done enough. He tapped the tablet, no expression, no warmth, but you're replaceable, always have been, and frankly expendable. The room tilted, my stomach dropped, I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Every late night, every missed birthday, every report I perfected, they all dissolved in that one moment. You can leave your things with HR, effective immediately. I tried to steady my voice, tried to argue, tried to scream, but my voice came out hollow, small nothing. I swallowed hard, forced a smile. Of course, thank you for the opportunity. HR lead slid a folder across the table. Cold, clinical, no sympathy, just papers. My name on the cover, my career compressed into one neat little package. I stood. My legs shook. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shove every piece of decor in this sterile room down onto his smug face. Instead, I walked out, quietly, forced calm, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. As I stepped into the elevator, I felt rage burn beneath my skin. Hot, sharp, pure. My mind replayed every word, low value, expendable. I pressed the button for the lobby, hands trembling slightly. I wanted to hit something, kick something. Punch the polished walls of this building that had been my second home, but I didn't. I couldn't, because already deep down, a plan was forming, a seed of revenge, not loud, not messy, but precise, unstoppable. I reached the lobby. Air smelled like coffee and metal. People walked past me, busy, indifferent. None of them saw the storm swirling inside me. I wanted them to, I wanted him to feel it. Every ounce of humiliation he dumped on me, I wanted it mirrored back. I paused outside the revolving doors. City noise crashed in horns, chatter, life moving on without me, and for a moment I let myself feel small, fragile, betrayed. But then, I clenched my fists, swallowed the pain, and let the silence of my fury grow. Because this wasn't the end, not by a long shot. Walking away, I promised myself, he had no idea what was coming, not yet. But one day, he would. And when that day came, I would watch. I would watch him realize what he lost. I would watch him burn. And I would smile. I got home, door shut behind me, but the sound didn't feel like closure, just a hollow click echoing in the apartment. I sank onto the couch, blank ceiling. Nothing made sense. Hey, you okay? My best friend's voice popped through my phone. I didn't answer at first. Couldn't. Words felt useless. Look, I heard about the meeting, they said. Hesitation, that awkward, panicked pause, only made it worse. Do you want to talk? I don't know, I whispered. My voice sounded alien, like someone else's grief was trapped in my throat. Okay. I'll come by. I hung up before I could say anything else. Part of me wanted to scream, part of me wanted to curl into a ball and vanish, but I did neither. I sat there letting numbness wash over me, like freezing water. Mom called later. Sweetheart, are you eating? Her voice trembled, gentle, careful. I know today was hard. I'm fine, I muttered. Lie. The words tasted bitter. I wasn't fine, I felt hollow. Empty, betrayed, discarded. You don't sound fine, she said softly. Talk to me. I, I don't know what to say, I admitted. Finally, my own voice shaking. I've given everything, Mom. Every hour, every ounce of effort. And it didn't matter. He said I set low value. There was silence. I could almost hear her trying not to cry. Oh baby, she whispered. I'm so sorry. And just like that, the tears I'd been holding in came. Quiet, slow, not loud, just enough to soak the pillow, blur the city lights outside. Next morning, news alerts, notifications, social media posts, smiling colleagues at company events, awards, promotions, all of it flashing in my face. They don't even know what they did to me. Each post, each headline, felt like a knife twisting deeper. My chest tightened, my stomach churned. How could they celebrate when they'd helped crush me? I stared at my reflection in the mirror, dark circles, puffy eyes, hair a mess. Someone I didn't recognize. Do you even see yourself? I muttered. Do you even matter? The questions didn't stop. Would I ever be enough? Was I really disposable like old furniture, tossed aside when convenient? Best friend came over later, hands full of takeout. I got you food, figured you might not feel like cooking. I managed a faint smile. Thanks. We sat in silence for a while, shoveling food into our mouths without much taste. Then they said, "You sapped too good for that place. You always have been." I laughed bitterly. Too good? They called me low value, low value. Do you know how that feels? I get it, they said. I do. But maybe it's such their loss. Maybe you such meant for something bigger. I wanted to believe it. I really did. But right then, the idea of moving on, of trusting anyone, felt impossible. I couldn't even trust myself. At night, I lay awake, thoughts spiraling. What did he see in me? Was I really that replaceable? Did my years of sacrifice mean nothing? And then anger began to creep in, tiny at first, a flicker, but it grew, slowly, hot, dangerous. The numbness couldn't last forever. I wanted to shake someone. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I wrote notes, little scribbles in my notebook, thoughts, observations, questions. He's not untouchable. They can do this and get away with it. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I knew I wouldn't let this go. Not quietly, not passively. By the end of that night, a decision formed, not fully conscious, but undeniable. I wouldn't just survive this. I would turn it into something they'd regret. Something I could control. And for the first time since that boardroom, I felt the tiniest spark of clarity. Not peace, not joy, but purpose. The betrayal had carved a hollow inside me. Yes, but in that hollow a fire was growing. And I wasn't going to let it die. The whispers started soft. Almost nothing. A comment in the elevator. A passing remark at lunch. Did you see the numbers? I heard some accounts are off. I brushed it off at first. Rumors. Gossip. But then my phone buzzed. A message from Alex, my insider friend. Meet me tonight. I think you should see this. I frowned. See what? Just trust me. Want to know. I wanted to say no. Stay home. Hide in my apartment, where at least the betrayal couldn't reach me. But something in his words pulled me. Curiosity. Anger. A hunger I couldn't explain. I met him at the corner cafe. Dim lights. Empty tables. Perfect for secrets. You need to know what's really happening, he said, voice low, urgent. Before it's too late. They not what you think. What do you mean? I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. He slid a folder across the table. Look at this. Every report, every expense, something's missing, or hidden. They've been cooking the books, and I think it goes higher than you know. I stared. My heart raced. My chest tightened. Betrayal wasn't enough anymore. This was something else. Bigger, darker, and intoxicating. I don't understand, I whispered. How could they? Alex shrugged. Power, greed, fear of losing control. You know him, your CEO. He's smart, but he's sloppy when no one's watching. I swallowed hard. Sloppy. The word tasted like a challenge. A spark. Talk to her, Alex said. Junior analyst Emily. She Sut's been keeping quiet, but she knows a lot. She Sut's show you what Sut's going on behind the walls. Emily. I remembered her face, young, nervous, always looking over her shoulder. I hadn't trusted her much, but Alex insisted. I found her at the office building late that night. She didn't flinch when I approached, not like the others, maybe because she knew she had nothing to lose. You're looking into this too? She asked, voice barely a whisper. Yes, I said. I need the truth. Everything. Can you help? She nodded. Meet me in the storage room. I have copies of emails, spreadsheets, things they don't want anyone to see. The room smelled of dust and old paper. Perfect for secrets. She handed me a flash drive. Everything here. Mismanaged funds, shady contracts, hidden accounts, all of it. I held it like it was a bomb, waiting for detonation. You know this could ruin people, right? She said. Or get you killed, metaphorically anyway. I know, I said. I'm done being silent. I need justice. Hours passed as I pored over the files, leaks, transfers, fake invoices, shell companies. My stomach churned, anger surged. My CEO, the man who'd called me low value, was corrupt. His empire wasn't built on brilliance, it was built on manipulation, fear, and lies. I felt it then. The first taste of power, a strange thrill. I had the keys to expose him, to show everyone the truth. Do you realize what this means? Emily asked softly. Yes, I said, voice tight. It steps not just about me anymore. It steps about the whole house of cards he built, and I can bring it down. Her eyes widened. You really will. I have to, I said. He took everything from me. My career, my dignity. But now, I clenched my fists. Now, I can take something from him. We went through every file, cross-checked emails, dates, amounts. My mind raced. Each revelation tightened the knot in my chest. Not just betrayal, but opportunity. I realized revenge might not only heal me, it could expose him completely. By the time I left, dawn was bleeding into the sky. Exhausted, shaking, heart pounding. I felt a clarity I hadn't had in weeks. Numbness was gone, replaced with purpose. Focus. A plan beginning to take shape. The city outside was waking up. Cars honking, people rushing, life moving. Oblivious. Just like the CEO, blind to the storm forming around him. I walked home, clutching the flash drive like a lifeline. The betrayal that had crushed me days ago now felt smaller, contained, manageable. Because now I had leverage. Now I had truth. And I wasn't just going to survive this anymore. I was going to fight back. I wasn't sure how, not yet, not fully. But I knew one thing: he had underestimated me, and that would be his first mistake. I sat at my desk, the flash drive blinking under the dim lamp. Files, emails, spreadsheets, proof of every lie, every hidden account. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the laptop against the wall. Instead, I closed my eyes. Enough, I whispered. No more hiding. No more numbness. I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. Hello? A familiar voice answered. Warm, steady, calm, my mentor. I need your help, I said. My voice shook. I don't know if I can do this alone. You sir already doing it, he said. You sir awake, that sep's the first step. I laughed bitterly. Awake? I sup terrified. And angry, and I don't know where to start. Start here, he said. You got the facts. You seen the cracks. Now think like a chess player. Every move counts, and timing is everything. I ran my hands over my face. I can be reckless. I can just explode and hope for the best. Good, he said. Recklessness will get you destroyed. You need precision, subtlety, silence. I leaned back, letting the weight of his words sink in. Silent sabotage, exposure, leverage, control. It all sounded impossible but necessary. I've been passive for too long, I admitted, letting him decide my worth, watching everything I worked for crumble. I can anymore. And you won he said. Not if we plan it right, but you have to be invisible. Patient, ruthless. Every ally, every weakness, Every secret. They stir all tools. I nodded, though he couldn't see me, nodding to myself. My heart pounded. This wasn't about pride anymore, not just about proving him wrong. This was justice. What about risks? I asked, voice low. If I make one mistake. You one stet, he interrupted. We plan every step, every communication, every leak, every move he trusts without suspicion. We use it against him. A thrill shot through me. Finally, control. A pulse of power I hadn't felt since the boardroom. I could almost taste it. Sweet, cold, intoxicating. Where do we start? I asked. Observation first, he said. Watch, listen, record, find patterns. Learn what he fears, what he hides. Every system he trusts, exploit it. I could hear the weight of my own heartbeat in my ears. And no one else. No one else. Not yet. Patience, he said. Ruthlessness doesn't mean chaos. It means calculated moves, invisible until the moment they hit. I swallowed hard. My hands shook. I can do this, I said, more to convince myself than him. You will, he said. And remember, this isn't revenge for revenge sake. This is correction. Exposure. Justice. You stir the one who is wronged, make it count. I looked around my apartment. Empty, silent. My reflection in the window stared back at me. Eyes dark, pupils dilated. Determined, fueled, a storm brewing beneath the surface. I have a plan forming, I said. It's messy in my head, but I see the moves. I see the path. Good, he said. Don't rush it. Let it unfold. Let him underestimate you. That sets your edge. I clenched my fists. A quiet fury settled in my chest. No longer numb, no longer trembling. The betrayal, the humiliation, it had sharpened me, focused me. And the final step? I asked. Timing, he said simply. And patience. The right moment, and everything collapses. Publicly, irrevocably. I breathed in, slowly, deliberately. Let the words sink, collapse, public, irrevocable. The seed of revenge that had lain dormant, now had sunlight, water, fuel, it was alive. And I was ready to nurture it, carefully, strategically, mercilessly. You believe in me? I asked, almost whispering. Always, he said. But you have to believe in yourself first. I closed the laptop, flash drive tucked safely in my bag. This wasn't about proving I was right. This was about ensuring he couldn't ever hurt me or anyone else, the same way again. And for the first time since that boardroom, I felt it, a pulse of control, a flicker of empowerment. I wasn't powerless anymore. I was invisible. I was patient. I was ruthless. And I was ready. I started seeing patterns everywhere. Little glitches, mistakes no one noticed or pretended not to notice. Files disappearing, emails misdirected, numbers that never added up. I texted Alex, the IT insider. Something off, I said. The server logs they tampered, can you check? A few minutes later, already on it, meet me tonight. Usual spot. Usual spot? I muttered to myself. The abandoned subway tunnel near the old warehouse. Shadows, silence. Perfect for secrets. Perfect for planning. Alex was already there, laptop open, eyes darting around. They've been covering tracks for months, he said. Every deletion, every permission change calculated. Someone doesn't want the truth out. I leaned in. Who? He shook his head. Can say for sure, but whoever it is, they careful. Smart, dangerous. Good, I said. I like dangerous. Means I am onto something big. He smirked. You mean you think you stir onto something? Big mistakes are usually hidden in plain sight. You still need proof. I have proof, I said, holding the flash drive tight. Emily gave me everything. Emails, reports, hidden accounts. But I need more. I need allies. Alex hesitated. Allies are risky. Everyone scared. Not everyone, I said. There's a junior accountant. Maya, quiet, resentful. She sees the injustice but doesn't have the guts to speak, unless someone guides her. He raised an eyebrow. Guided by you? Yes, I said firmly. I'll give her direction. She leaks, we connect dots. Slowly, carefully. That night, I met Maya in the cafeteria, empty except for cleaning staff. She looked startled to see me. "You're the one digging?" she asked, voice low, nervous. "Yes," I said. "I need your help. Files, contracts, anything hidden from auditors. If you cooperate, no one will know it came from you." She swallowed hard. "I fabe am seen things, numbers that don't set make sense. Transfers we weren't set supposed to notice. But if anyone finds out—" "I know," I interrupted softly. "That SIP's why we stood careful. Encrypted messages, shadow meetings. You trust me, I trust you. That SIP's all we need." She nodded. I sup him in. "But we have to be fast. If he suspects—" "I know," I said. "Every day we wait, he buries more, but we move strategically. Patience." We started mapping everything. ID issues, suspicious accounts, hidden contracts. Each ally became a piece of the puzzle. Alex whispered one night. "I've got access to deleted logs. Nothing permanent, but enough to show patterns." I smiled. "Perfect. Combine that with Maya Sep's findings, and we have a web, every lie, every cover-up exposed." We worked in shadows. Whispered messages, encrypted emails, meetings in abandoned corners of the office. Under flickering lights, I became a ghost among my old colleagues, walking past familiar faces, pretending to mourn my career, while orchestrating a storm no one saw coming. "Do you think he suspects?" Maya asked one night, nervously glancing at the empty hallway. "Not yet," I said. "That SEP's our advantage. We set her invisible, until the right moment." Alex smirked. "You such calm, considering what SEP's at stake." "Calm is necessary," I said. "Anger burns bridges. Precision opens them. Every document, every conversation, every loophole, it steps ammunition." The more we dug, the more I realized the Empire wasn't invincible. Contracts hidden from auditors. Transactions with no explanation. Errors that weren't errors. They were shields, and now for the first time, I could see right through them. "Do you ever get scared?" Maya asked one evening, eyes wide. "Every day," I admitted. "But fear is a tool too, keeps me sharp, keeps us careful." I stared at the flash drive on the table, the sum of weeks of silent work, trust testing, and whispered alliances. I realized revenge wasn't just emotional anymore, it was strategic, methodical, ruthless. "Do you feel it?" I asked Alex quietly. "The tension? The moment right before the dominoes fall?" He nodded. "Yeah, but remember one wrong move and the whole plan collapses." I smiled grimly. "Then we don't make mistakes. We are ghosts, shadows, invisible until impact." Walking home that night, I felt the weight of what we were building. My career, my dignity, my trust, all of it forged into a weapon. Every day pretending to mourn became fuel for the fire of justice inside me. I was patient, calculating, invisible, and unstoppable. The city slept around me, unaware, cars honking, streetlights flickering, lives continuing as if nothing had changed. But I knew what was coming, and when it did, he wouldn't see it, not until it was too late. I watched from my apartment window, the city lights blurring into streaks as my mind raced. Small moves first, subtle, almost invisible. That's how it had to start. I called Maya. "Upload the report to the shared drive. Don't change the file name. Let it look normal." "Are you sure?" Her voice was tight, cautious. "Yes," I said. "Trust me. Just the numbers. Nothing else, the rest will follow." Later, Alex whispered through encrypted chat. "It glitches staged. Enough to confuse, not enough to trace." Perfect. The dominoes were lined, and I was just a ghost in the system. Invisible. The next morning, the CEO's office was tense. I followed the finance team in my mind like a hawk. I wasn't supposed to be there officially, but every report, every spreadsheet I had touched now carried a subtle inconsistency. Small, almost unnoticeable shifts, tiny enough that people would notice but blame themselves first. During the morning meeting, I imagined his face, confident, smug. Then I imagined the moment the first hint of doubt hit him. A junior accountant whispered, "There's something off with the Q2 projections." "What do you mean?" another asked, glancing at the CEO. "Some numbers, they don't add up," the first replied. I could almost hear the CEO's internal gears turning. He leaned back in his chair, lips pressed together, eyes narrowing. "Check again," he said. Calm. Too calm. I smirked. The tension was palpable. Each breath he took was measured, careful. The empire he built on control was starting to tremble, and I was still invisible, still harmless in everyone's eyes. Maya texted me. They noticed something. He's questioning the team. Good. Exactly what I wanted. Anxiety creeping in, small cracks forming. Later I watched him confront the finance manager over an innocuous spreadsheet. Explain this discrepancy, he demanded, voice tight, rigid. The manager stammered. I checked it, twice. Everything seems correct. Seems correct. He hissed. Seems correct doesn't cut it anymore. I could almost hear the panic in his mind. The precision he prided himself on, the unshakable confidence was wobbling. I leaned back in my chair at home, heart racing, a thrill I hadn't felt in weeks pulsing through me. Each tremor of fear in him lit a spark inside me. Every anxious glance he threw my way, or anywhere he assumed control, was fuel. Justice, silent and precise, had begun. Alex messaged again. Next phase ready. Patience, timing. He's off balance. I smiled. Patience, timing. The words felt heavy in my chest, intoxicating. Each move, deliberate, no noise, no chaos, invisible, ruthless. During the afternoon call, whispers started circulating. Did anyone else see the ledger discrepancies? The CEO's forehead creased. Explain this to me, now. Everyone looked down, fidgeting, confused. The trust fractures were widening. People weren't accusing each other yet, but they were suspicious, uneasy, questioning. Exactly what I wanted. I thought back to the boardroom, his words low value. He thought he could discard me without consequence. How blind, how arrogant. I pressed my lips together, thinking, one subtle move at a time, watch, wait, observe, and when the time came, strike. Even the finance team, my silent observers, began second-guessing themselves. Emails were double-checked, calculations rerun. I imagined him pacing his office at night, unable to rest, trusting nothing, fearing everyone. Maya sent me a screenshot. He's reviewing the past quarter, looks nervous. I typed back, keep feeding the fire, just small things, nothing traceable yet. Every tremor of fear in him, every anxious glance, every tightened jaw, it felt like a catharsis. Years of humiliation, betrayal, discarded effort, all condensing into this precise, quiet storm. By evening, the office was buzzing with tension. Meetings lasted longer, conversations were whispered. People hesitated before speaking. And still, I remained invisible. The powerless ex-employee, the one no one considered dangerous. I leaned back, fingers tapping lightly on my desk. A thrill surged through me. I could almost taste the coming collapse. Justice didn't need noise. It didn't need chaos. It only needed patience. Observation, precision, and now, the first strike had landed. A subtle tremor, almost imperceptible, but enough. Enough to make him question everything he thought was solid. The empire was cracking, and I was standing in the shadows, watching, waiting, and knowing the next move would be even sweeter. The office smelled different that morning, tension thick like static before a storm. I watched from the shadows, or rather from the coffee shop across the street. Laptop open, heart pounding. Alex had delivered the latest leaks overnight. Emails, hidden accounts, contracts that never saw auditors. Every revelation meticulously pieced together. I sipped my coffee, whispering to myself, let the masks fall. Minutes later, the first tremor hit. A board meeting called at the last minute. The CEO walked in, smug as always, unaware the walls were crumbling. Good morning, he said, voice smooth, but his eyes flicked to the finance team and then froze. Sir, can we clarify the Q2 projections? One board member asked, voice tight. Clarify? His brows knitted. Everything is in order. It appears some accounts were misreported, another said. Perhaps intentionally. The word hung in the air like ice. Misreported. Intentionally. I imagined the panic behind his eyes. Felt it. Delicious. Who is responsible for this? He demanded, voice rising. Silence. Whispers. The CEO's allies shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting at each other. The empire he built on control was showing cracks. One by one, the emails leaked, projected onto the boardroom screen by an anonymous whistleblower. Hidden accounts. transfers to shell companies, contracts signed under false pretenses, every carefully constructed lie laid bare. A board member coughed. This can stet be right. There's stets no way these discrepancies weren't stet noticed before. Apparently they weren't, another muttered, eyes narrowing, doubt turning into suspicion. I felt it then, the thrill, karma moving like a river carving through rock, subtle, silent, unstoppable. The CEO tried to regain control. These are mistakes, errors, oversights. His voice quivered slightly, betraying him. Errors? One board member asked sharply. Sir, these aren't set errors. These are deliberate misrepresentations. A junior finance analyst spoke up, voice shaking. I saw transfers that didn't set to match any contracts. I raised questions before, but I was dismissed. I leaned forward in my seat, invisible yet fully present. The dominoes were falling. One by one, the masks slipped. The CEO Spitz's closest allies, partners I spent once admired, now questioned him openly. We trusted you, one said, voice cutting. And now we find this. The fury in the room built like a wave. The man who called me low value was gasping for control. His hubris, his arrogance, the very thing that fueled his empire, it was turning against him. Emails continued to pour in from internal leaks, evidence of mismanaged funds, shady contracts, inflated revenue reports, each one a nail in the coffin. I can explain, he stammered, but no one listened. Eyes turned away, doubt had replaced trust. Friends had become enemies. Allies had become witnesses. I imagined him pacing alone in his office later, rereading the same emails, trying to make sense of the chaos. Every backstab, every hidden motive, every ambitious colleague circling for advantage, it all collided at once. I whispered to myself, this is justice. Silent, precise, perfect. A board member slammed a hand on the table. Sir, if these reports are accurate, the company SUP's foundation, its steps unstable. Seriously unstable. The CEO opened his mouth, then closed it. No words came. His empire, once untouchable, was trembling. I leaned back. Hands folded, grim satisfaction coursed through me. The years of humiliation, the discarded effort, the nights of self-doubt, it all funneled into this moment. Karma, finally in motion. Another partner muttered under their breath, loud enough for the room to hear, we were blind. We trusted the wrong person. Blind? The CEO barked. I? But the room was no longer his. Authority had shifted subtly, invisibly. Fear mingled with suspicion. Every mask he thought was permanent had fallen. I imagined their private conversations later, board members whispering in corners, alliances crumbling, reputations being reassessed. His closest allies reconsidering loyalties, weighing consequences, and I was outside, unseen, orchestrating the symphony of his downfall. A junior accountant, the one quietly simmering with resentment, finally spoke. If this continues unchecked, the company could lose millions or more. Millions? The CEO Spitz's voice cracked. This can set be happening. Oh, it was happening. Every betrayal unfolding in real time. Every ambition, every act of greed, every mistake made to protect him, now a weapon against him. I felt cold, yet exhilarated. The taste of justice, silent and poetic, filled me. Not loud, not violent. Precise, the perfect reflection of the boardroom words that once scarred me, low value. I watched the meeting adjourn, people buzzing, alliances fractured, and I smiled quietly. The empire wasn't gone yet, but the cracks were wide. The masks were off, and the man who had dismissed me, discarded me, thought he could control everything. He was no longer untouchable. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious. Cars honking, people rushing, lives continuing. Inside the boardroom a storm raged, silent yet devastating, and I was standing, invisible but victorious. Karma had arrived. The phone rang just as I was closing my laptop, the apartment silent except for the hum of the city below. I didn't recognize the number. I almost ignored it. Almost. Then I saw it. His name. The CEO. I answered slowly. Hello? Is this you? His voice cracked. Shaky. Not the composed, sharp tone I'd known. Something had broken it. It is, I said. Calm, controlled. There was a long pause. Breathing. Finally he said, I need to talk. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch. Let him feel it. Let him wonder if I would hang up. About what? I asked. Neutral. The company, the board, everything. His words tumbled out, hurried, desperate. Its steps collapsing. Partners are leaving. The projections they suffer all wrong. Millions gone. I don't set understand how. I let a slow smile creep in, though my voice remained steady. Maybe it suts not about understanding. Maybe it suts about consequences. There was a sharp intake of breath. Consequences? What do you mean? You called me fizz low value. Say to remember, I said softly. You discarded me, humiliated me. And now, I let the pause linger. You say to learning what that feels like. He laughed, but it was hollow. I never thought this could happen. I built this empire, everything I worked for, and it steps crumbling, overnight. I didn't interrupt. I let him unravel. I trusted people, he continued. I trusted everyone, and I should have listened, seen it. Seen what? I asked. Sharp, cutting. The truth? Yes, he whispered, almost pleading. The truth. I didn't see it until it was too late. I pictured him pacing his office. The perfect corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, city sprawled below. The empire he thought untouchable, evaporating under his feet. I thought I could control everything, he said finally. Control people, control the board, control you, control the company. And now, I have nothing. Nothing. I stayed silent, not a word, just let him hear himself. You made it? You made this happen? His voice cracked with disbelief, shame and fear all tangled together. I breathed slowly. Not I said. Justice did. I just opened the door. Silence again, long taut. I never imagined, he muttered, voice low. The money, the partners, the reputation gone. How could someone like you? Like me? I interrupted softly. I stepped the one you called low value, the one you thought disposable, the one you thought wouldn't matter, but I mattered, and now you learning what that means. His breathing grew uneven. I need a chance to fix this, to make it right. I closed my eyes for a moment, felt the years of betrayal, humiliation, the sleepless nights, the cold sting of being discarded, the seed of revenge, now fully grown. You already had your chance, I said finally. You wasted it, and now you sutter paying the price. A strangled sound came from him. Please, I didn't no. Exactly, I said. You didn't no. That steps the thing about consequences. They don't care about excuses. They only care about actions. Another long pause. I imagined him finally seeing the reality, the board turning against him, partners withdrawing support, millions vanished, the very empire built on manipulation, crumbling. I never wanted this, he whispered, finally defeated. No, I said softly. You didn't but you caused it anyway. Every word, every dismissal, every betrayal, it all comes back. I let him absorb that, every syllable, every truth reflected back to him. Finally a shaky breath. I still never forget this. Never. I know, I said. Calm, satisfaction simmering under my voice. Not gloating, not boasting, just validation. Every scar, every humiliation he inflicted on me, mirrored back. He hung up before I could say another word. Silence filled the line, heavy and final. I stared at the phone, letting it rest on the table. My pulse still racing, but slower now. Triumphant. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his groveling. I needed this for him to understand, to feel the hollow echo of the power he thought he owned. The apartment was quiet again. I leaned back, letting the city lights blur, and whispered to myself, this is justice. Silent, precise, perfect. For the first time in months I felt whole, not because I had taken revenge but because the universe had delivered it so elegantly, and he would never forget the lesson. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I simply breathed, feeling the cold, exhilarating validation settle into my bones. The CEO had learned. The empire had faltered. And I was finally free. The first morning after the CEO's empire began collapsing, I didn't wake up to panic. I woke up to possibility. Coffee in hand, sunlight spilling across the apartment floor. I felt lighter. I called Maya. You ready to build something real? I've been ready, she said, voice steady. I just needed the green light. Consider this it. I hung up and let myself breathe. Months of careful plotting, sleepless nights, fear and anger, all that weight had begun to lift. It wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really, it was about reclaiming me. I walked into my old neighborhood, past the shops and cafes that had witnessed my long nights of grief and planning. People didn't recognize me, because I'd changed. Not just in appearance, but in presence. Confidence radiated from my posture. Calm, controlled, dangerous in the quietest way. At the office I had founded with Maya, and a handful of trusted allies, the air buzzed differently, not tense, not competitive. Alive, potential everywhere. Good morning, I said, entering the boardroom where my new team waited. Good morning, they replied, voices warm, eager. No games, no pretenses, only dedication. I sat at the head of the table, letting my gaze linger on each face. These were people I trusted, people who'd survived betrayal, seen injustice, and refused to bow, people who understood that power isn't taken, it's earned. I spoke first. We Sept got a lot to build, but first, let Septs acknowledge something. We survived, and now we thrive. A junior analyst smiled. It stepped strange, feeling safe at work for the first time in years. I nodded. That's Seps because now we own the narrative. No one can make us feel disposable again. Later, my mother called. Abdul, she said, voice trembling. I saw the news. I saw what happened. I swallowed. It steps not about pride, Mom. It steps about finally being free. Free? She repeated softly. Yes, I said. Free from fear, free from being silenced, free from him. Even now, the memory of the boardroom where he had called me low value lingered like a scar. But scars don't have to hurt forever. They remind you that you survived. They remind you that you grew. Over the next weeks, our company expanded. Former colleagues who had once doubted me joined, not for loyalty to me, but for belief in the vision we were building. People I had mentored, people I had protected, came back, not as pawns, but as equals. I walked into meetings with quiet authority. Let's review Q1 projections, I said. The spreadsheets were meticulous, precise, but the culture around them had changed. Trust replaced fear. Collaboration replaced suspicion. Every decision reinforced the lessons I had learned. Vigilance, integrity, patience. Maya nudged me during one meeting. You've changed, she said. I shrugged lightly. I had to. He taught me how. She frowned. The CEO. Yes, the one who said I had no value. He reminded me exactly what I refused to be again. The team laughed softly. Not mockery, light, acknowledging laughter. I allowed myself to join. Humor, connection, things I had neglected while drowning in rage and revenge were back. That evening I reviewed the final reports. The $780 million was gone from his grasp, scattered, locked, or redirected by the networks I had exposed. But the most important figure, my worth was undeniable. Not because of money, not because of power, but because I had rebuilt myself from the ashes. Alex, my IT insider, popped into my office. You ever think about calling him? Just to— Never, I said, cutting him off. Calm, resolute. No calls. No gloating. Let him live with the consequences. Let karma echo in his world. He nodded. Right? Just, wow, you actually did it. I didn't do it for me alone, I said. I did it for everyone whose sit's been made small by someone else's ego. For everyone told they weren't sitched enough. This is proof. And proof mattered, to me. Not the headlines. Not the whispers in offices. Not the envy of competitors. Proof that I could endure, adapt, and rise. A few weeks later, I walked into a new boardroom of my own making. Modern design, open space, sunlight streaming through windows, my name at the top of the plaque outside, a boardroom where my decisions mattered, but where respect mattered more. I greeted the team. Let's Seps begin. No fear, no shadows from the past, only purpose, precision, and partnership. Later I stood at the window, looking down at the city sprawled below. The skyline glittered, indifferent. And yet I felt powerful, not because I had taken him down, not because $780 million slipped from his grasp, but because I had taken myself back. Maya joined me, coffee in hand. "We've come a long way," she said softly. I smiled. "We have, and it's just the beginning." I thought of the scars, the sleepless nights, the betrayals, the whispers of colleagues, the phone call filled with regret. They all led here to this moment. I whispered to myself. I didn't just survive. I thrive. I am whole. The final line of the story wasn't revenge. It was victory. Quiet, unshakable, real. For the first time in years, I felt complete, not defined by his cruelty, not defined by loss, not defined by fear, only by my own strength, resilience, and the people I chose to surround myself with. And I smiled, letting the triumph settle in. The past had its lessons, but it no longer had a hold. I was the author now, the director, the one in control. Free, empowered, unstoppable.